Welcome to this new how-to. In this how-to we're gonna look at how you can calibrate the throttles in combination with the Embraer 175, also known as the E-Jets 175, which has been released a few weeks ago in early access, but has received a new update this week. So let's go inside. So where can you find the calibration system, right? It's not here, but it's here. Because this is the electronic flight bag, and if you click on this option, right, which is the settings option, you will see it will bring you up this nice view. This nice view might require some, I would say, explanation, right? Because the first time I saw this I really scratched my head and was thinking, okay, hey, how should I read these kind of things, right? Because you can see that you can still move these bars, right, to adjust, I would say, the position of the throttle, but how does that relate to, I'd say, the position of the throttling itself? Well, currently, in my case, the throttle is set to idle, right, which you can see. So if it's set to idle, right, you can, say, play around with it and then move it back. And one thing I observed is that it's not always showing the accurate value, so be aware of that. You of course need to make sure that in my case you don't see anything blue, which would mean in the case of the Turtle Beach, that I would need to move my idle position a little bit up to here, right? Because based on this, it doesn't look like this is the idle position where it should be. However, what I also figured out that there's an option to configure the rev, right? Which stands for the reverse axis. In my case, I can't use it because I'm using the Turtle Beach. But as soon as you do that, you can see that also reset here, right? So it looks like that this calibration tool might require some more adjustments because it doesn't always show the accurate value. Like currently it shows as 0%, but here it shows as, well, it's not idle, right? To me, this shows like 5% or something. So it looks like there's some more work to do. Now there are a few things which you can do with this tool, right? So the first one I already showed you. So if you increase the throttle, right, that's where you can already see that the Turtle Beach sometimes has some issues because it shows 88.5 and 90%. That's where you can use your mouse cursor to move these positions if you want to, I'd say, adjust the touch and go in this case, right? Because that's the position where it refers to. If we go over here, you will see that it's now in the touch and go position. I would say, as you can see here, right? So here's touch and go. It's a little bit hard to read, but believe me, it's there. Then if you push the throttles full, of course, it will go to the max mode, and that's where you can adjust also the arrows again to change that option, right? So that's really cool, and I would say makes it possible to adjust your joystick. You can see that the arrows over here and the arrows are over here, right? So you can not move these ones, but you can still move these ones. So this is for the, I would say, calibration piece, right? Where you can calibrate your joystick. And these are the positions which you can move, I would say, a little bit higher or a little bit lower, because you can still see that there's some, I would say, space left over here. Now there's an interesting option which says link axis. Link axis allows you to say, okay, which axis is dominant, right? Is it the left or is it the right, which are the options which you can see here, or should it take the minimum value and the maximum value? And the minimum value in this case, right, so if I would decrease my throttle a bit, you can see that the left one is set to 75.5 while the other one is set to 75.8. If I would set it to minimum level, it would take this value. If I would set it to maximum value, it would take this value. And you could see that they moved up and down while doing that. If you do it on average, it will take the average of both of them, and I'd say we'll use that for calibration purposes. Then there's the link settings option, right? So the link setting options is disabled by default, but you can enable it by simply clicking on it, and then it will treat, I would say, both, I would say, throttles in my case as one. You can see that you can still calibrate it, right? And you can still calibrate them individually. But based on what I understood or understand is that they are working, I would say, similar, right? I'm not sure if you, I would say, would use this option. Maybe if you've got, I would say, a different throttle mechanism, you might want to use it. But in my case, I decided not to use it. Then the piece which we shortly touched on already was the reverse on axis, right? Which makes it possible to, I'd say, kind of simulate the reverse option. So in my case, if I would set it to reverse, right, which is the case right now, I would need to, I'd say, increase the speed. And if I would, I'm currently I'm on 50%, right? That's what you can see here. And that would then be the, let's say, let me decrease it a little bit further. That would then be the 25%, I would say, engine power. And if I move it back to that 25 degrees, it would be the idle mode, as you can see here, right? Because if I move over here, you can see that it's currently in idle mode. And if I, say, switch it down to idle in my case, it will put it to reverse max. And that's something which you, I would say, need to figure out if what you prefer, right? Because it, I would say, that depends on a persona basis, but at least now you've got the option to manipulate that. If you don't want to use the reverse on axis, then you can simply disable that option, which will, I'd say, as you can already think of, will simply not use the reverse on axis option. There are some tweaks, right? There is a button which you can also press to set the engine in reverse mode and then still use the same calibration mechanism or the same throttle mechanism, I should say, sorry, to use the reverse mode. So initially you might think, hey, what is this? But once you looked at it for a while and played around it with it for a while, it makes sense. Is it the easiest way to, I'd say, calibrate a joystick? Well, I got my doubts about that. I would say if I look at the fly-by-wire one, I would prefer that method. But I also can think that some people might prefer this method. Right, so in this video we looked at how you can calibrate your throttle in the EJ175, also known as the Embraer 175, which received a new update which now allows you to calibrate the joystick. Here ends this video. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, then consider to use the like button. If you got questions or comments, then feel free to post them in the comment box below. And if you want to stay up to date about new videos I'm posting, then make sure that you're subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching and see you next time.